Thank you for the introduction, and it's great to be here. I want to, first of all, thank the Maytree Foundation. Special thanks to Alejandra and to Ratna for inviting me to be here, for making this possible. I can't tell you how impressed I am. It is my first time in this beautiful city, and the environment, as you get in and you get in the metro, it's very different. You are very lucky to make immigrants feel welcome and welcome to speak their language without fear in the metro. It's a huge win for you. Thanks for that. Yes, you should do that. So let me talk to you a little bit about who I am. I am an immigrant in the United States, Mexican-American, native of South Texas. Moved to Washington, D.C., pursuing education, then stayed to work on national campaigns to improve the lives of our immigrant communities. The National Council of La Raza, as Ratna said, is the largest Latino civil rights organization in the United States. We're approaching our 50th anniversary in about 3 years. And as we continue to move forward, we're kind of all over the country. We have 7 offices, and our main office is in Washington, D.C. We work on issues from education to health, LGBT, and integration of our people into the system. I want to tell you just a little bit about how government sort of works in the United States. We have a president. Right now we have President Barack Obama in office. And then we have our Congress. We have the House of Representatives with over 400 representatives by district per state. And then we have the Senate, which has 100 members. All of them are elected. Each of them run their campaigns. In 2008, very interesting, in 2008, the Latino vote had a huge influence, and CLR has worked with partners for many years. This didn't happen overnight. And I think that people speak of the Latino vote in the United States waking up. I think we're not fully there, but we're getting up and we're getting our coffee right now and getting ready. There were 3.5 more Latinos who were not only registered, but actually cast their ballots, that went out to vote that year in 2008. And that wasn't only the result of NCLR's work, but the work of the entire Latino community and other communities that work with us all over the country to make sure that people, one, got registered to vote, because that's a whole process in the United States, very different from here, which I find that really interesting. And then you have to get them out to vote, right? It's not enough just to get them registered. But then after that, you have to defend their vote once they've placed that vote, especially right now when we're seeing so many laws that are passed. We can look at Florida, for example, where the vote is really restricted. So you not only register people, but then you have to get them out to vote, educate them, and then you have to defend the vote. What I want to do today, so let me just give you some numbers. 2008, we had approximately 9.7 million Latinos who went out to vote. Then in 2000, and that's about 3 million difference from 2004. Then in 2012, we had, again, about 1.5 million more people who went out to vote last year. We saw that the 2010 election really changed things for minorities in the United States. So we have a wave. The Tea Party changed things for us. We're looking at the first wave post 9/11, the election of the first biracial president, Barack Obama, and then 2012 really the Tea Party coming in and changing the dynamic for people from then till now. And we see how anti-immigrant legislation was really passed from, we're looking at Arizona to Mississippi to Georgia, many places. And so, there's places where you really have to think where you speak your native language and where you don't. And so I feel great here in Toronto. I feel like I'm at home. and that means South Texas. All right. So I want to talk to you about a campaign that we have. It's called Mobilize to Vote that we've been having for several years. And this is not only NCLR, this is really a partnership with many organizations. If you really want to create change, the vote is only one piece of that. And you have to work with many, many, many organizations. So in the United States, we're seeing that approximately close to 900,000 people, young Latino citizens, become 18. Imagine it, every year. Imagine if they could vote. The Latino community is the largest, fastest growing Latino electorate in the United States. And so how do we tap that? We have had the largest increased participation in the last, I would say, two national elections. And so I want to show you a little video that I have here. One of the things that have been successful for us in registering people to vote is going to the community, right? Making sure that we go to the community. Immigrants are going to trust the organizations that are similar to us, right? And so we have so many CBOs, nonprofits, whatever you want to call it, that are already in those neighborhoods. In the United States, you have neighborhoods that are mainly, Salvadorian American, or mainly Mexican American, or mainly, / American. So there are already centers where people go to. So why not bring voter registration to them where they are? And speak in their language, right? And inform them about what they're doing. So I want to just show you a little video that was put together by an organization called Cuéntame. They have, or Tell Me, they have a large number of members. I think over 2 million, it's in the millions. And so if you really want to get the vote out there, you gotta go where people have the lists. So just a little example of some of the work that we do, and then I'll get more into details into this integration of voter registration and GOTV into your existing CBO networks. Thanks, and everybody can relate to those cards, which is the Mexican lottery. It's, you can see that if you're, Latin American or Mexican American, you will automatically connect to that. It brings you a little bit of comfort, right? Connecting with people. So just a little bit of the story in Florida and why we chose to do based on Florida is because Well, let me tell you a little bit about kind of like the last election. We work with an organization called NALEO, what mainly focuses on the legal aspect of elections. And in our floor where I work, the 7th floor, we turn that into a hotline center. So basically, when people are going to vote, and if you see that, it's one, yes, you can vote, your vote is important, and this is what you need to do. When laws change, people might get confused. Well, do I need one ID? Well, bring two. Well, then bring three. So I got a call. I was sitting down at my desk, and we were getting call after call after call. And this woman called me from Florida. And she said, well, you know, I went to vote, and I've been voting in this place for 10 years. I've been here for a long time. But they told me I'm not in the list. What should I do? Well, you need to go back. She was already at home. It was a school where she needed to go. And then I told her, well, you know, they could have given you a provisional ballot, but they didn't. First of all, why wasn't she in the list and she's been voting there for a long time? Two, why wasn't she offered a provisional ballot, right? So I was with her on the phone and I was explaining, you know, I checked to make sure that she knew where the right place was for her to go, and I checked and, you know, that was the right place. And then, you know, are you a citizen? You know, she's voted there before, no issues. So while I was on the phone with her, I called the Nandeo network and got a lawyer that we had on site. We have lawyers on site through this partnership to make sure that people can go and vote without any problems. So while I was with her on the phone, I told her, no, you have to go and you have to vote, and this is important. So make sure you start, you know, and you walk back to the school. So while she was walking, I was with her on the phone, and then I called the lawyer, and the lawyer was gonna meet her at the school, at the front door. And so she voted. She ended up voting. So that's what some of the work that we do to make sure that people not only have the right to vote, but that we defend the right for them to vote. And that was in Florida. So the Mobilize to Vote campaign, we have a new aspect to it, and that is the vote by mail, which has the highest rate, the highest execution rate. More people vote by mail nowadays. And so we're trying to register. We're gonna be reaching out to 2.5 million Latinos via mail between now and the election. And that's mainly in Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Texas, and Utah. Those are states that are important states for us, where the vote, the Latino vote, can make a difference in some of these elections. Now, this is really a partnership with Mi Familia Vota Education Fund. And it's interesting that we say Mi Familia Vota, and that's Spanish for my family, because for the Latino community, family is important. And it is not only about you as an individual, it's about the responsibility of your families and your networks and your aunt and your uncle and your grandfather and your grandmother. We heard so many grandmothers that voted in the past few elections. It's important, right? I don't think that any Latino-led group has ever done something like this, but it's not only about sending you a ballot, right? It's about the contact that we have. It's about following up with you. So each person is gonna get 3 phone calls. And interesting, I'm the voice of that people are gonna be hearing. Hi, I'm Janet Hernandez from the National Council of Raza. You received a voter registration in the mail. Make sure that you send it in. And then we talk to them about certain issues, right? And a lot of this work, we do with the C3 and with the C4 because of the legal issues that you have to follow to make sure that you stay within the government regulations. But then you have to connect people to the issue. You got them to register to vote, then they're voting. You have to connect them, right? There's a lower turnout between presidential elections. That's at the midterm level. That's one of the reasons why people say the Tea Party changed the House, because a lower number of minorities pretty much voted in that election. Okay, so we hope to really register 250,000 new voters just to this program, but this is just one piece of the campaign that we have with all of our partners. And I wanna now switch to the next slide and talked a little bit more about a program called LEAP, Latino Empowerment and Advocacy Project. It's a program that I've been managing now for 3 election cycles. And it's a program that is really hands-on. We work primarily on integrating voter registration into the existing structures of nonprofit organizations or CBOs. How many of you are affiliated with a CBO right now? Raise your hand. Okay, how many of you work for a CBO, community-based organization or a nonprofit? Okay, how many of you do voter registration? Keep your hand up. How many of you work for a nonprofit organization? And then how many of you do voter registration? So very few people. So, I'm sorry, GOTV, Get Out the Vote. Wow. Great, a few, there's some. Thanks, so, and I understand that you don't do necessarily voter registration the way we do it in the United States. So what we've been able to do, and we're gonna kick off probably in May, just as an example for the last election cycle, we, as I mentioned before, we work with the nonprofits, with the community-based organizations that are already a hub for minorities or for the Latino community. Because people, that's who they trust to get information. So what we do is that we go into these community-based organizations and we look at what they're doing. If they're health clinics, what is your point of contact with the community? If it is when they're registering or when they're, maybe at a station and they get trying to get other type of help, hey, are you registered to vote? Are you a US citizen? Can you vote? But not only there, that's one of the main points where you can really get in contact with people. We registered in the last election cycle about 25,000 people in 5 months, which is pretty high for a type of program like this. But not only that, so what do you do with people once they register to vote, right? Then you have to get them out to vote, and you have to make sure that they plug into the work that you're doing. So build a base of participants. Do you hear that the government's trying to cut education by X%? Well, what can you do about it? Or health, or whatever it might be. So try to plug them into your specific campaigns and send them information. Now, the important thing, how do you get them out to vote? If you wait until election day, I think you've already lost. I think somebody was talking about that. If you wait until election day to engage voters, I'm sorry, but that's bad news. The work starts before. You get somebody to register to vote. They register for a reason. They register because they thought that their vote could make a difference. And believe me, in the 2008 election, it made a lot of difference for our community. In North Carolina, for example, President Obama won by 13,000 votes, 13,900 votes, very small. And we had one of our operations there, registering people to vote. It doesn't matter who you vote for us, because we do nonpartisan voter registration. It matters that people get civically engaged in the country where they live and they belong to. So increasing that civic participation, not only with the voter registration, but then engaging them in your issues and keep them informed. So with the GOTV, we develop very specific plans, and a lot of that is not even paid. Most of these operations work with volunteers, but you have to really prep your volunteers and find a reason of why they need to be involved and work with them. It's a long-term process. Before election day, we do a lot of GOTV work, and we partner with organizations to do this as well. For example, Rock the Vote, when we include celebrities to, talk to the youth or talk to different segments of the population. And we call them, it requires how many, I believe it's 3 contacts for the person to be able to do something. Call them once, have your line ready. Do you know where you're gonna vote? Have you thought what time of the day you're gonna vote? How are you gonna get there to vote? Is it gonna be after work? You have to make sure that they have a picture of when and how they're going to vote. Do you have a right? We'll call your neighbor. Some of our affiliates, and CLR has a network of close to 300 affiliates that are the organizations that implement a lot of these works. Some of them, get people at a certain time, and then they take them in a van, or they take, rights. They organize their communities to make sure that they go vote, because it's important. And as we look forward to another election, hopefully we'll have even a new record number of Latinos going out to vote in 2016. We provide technical assistance. We not only tell our affiliates, here is some money, or here's, go and register X amount of people. We're on the phone with them every day, and I'm one of those people. How are your numbers today? They send us pictures. It's very intense. How are you feeling? Feeling the temperature? Do you have volunteers? Do you want me to train them? Before we start this LEAP program, we have a kickoff where we bring people we pick one state, and we go and we train them. And it can be issues from, why is voting important to you? That question of why is the reason why we have the first African-American president in the United States. Because why was it important to see diversity? Why was it important to see something different? And so we work with them for them to be able to tell their story and share that with their families. How do you do a one-on-one? How do you do a community meeting or a house meeting? The work doesn't end there. As an organization, as a national organization, but also with ties to our community, our work is not a 9-to-5 job. This is a movement that we're building to really change things for our community in the United States. Do I have another slide? Okay, so I just wanna, I know that I have, I'm close to time, but I just wanna say that this really hasn't, these numbers in the millions, it didn't happen overnight, it happened really for generations of people that have been slowly building this movement of getting people out to vote, of overcoming fears, of making sure that we integrate people into our community. And the most important thing is that the Latino community in the United States, the Latino electorate, is not a one-party community. It's really a community that can go for the Democrats or can go for the Republicans. It's a community that votes on issues. And so depending what candidate, what issues they have, that's where the community is going. And we're seeing it in different states, Florida might go one side, or California might go on another side. It's really an issue-based vote. I think I will be doing Q&A in a little bit. Okay, great. Well, thank you. That's what I have for you today.